Hi, my name is Pastor Chris Ong from Full Gospel Assembly Melbourne, and I'm so thrilled to be launching this series called Foundations, where we look at how the Bible is the foundation for our understanding of God and His will for us. As Christians nowadays, in today's Christianity, so much of our understanding of God and what we know of Him is formed by sermons or songs or things that we read about God. When I did a quick survey around the place, I actually found that most of my friends were finding out about God through secondary sources and not through the Bible themselves. The days of people, Christians, waking up in the morning and reading chunks of scripture directly are actually fading. And so this series is an attempt to try and bring that back in. I want to be able to talk about how rich the Bible is. You know, whether you're a Christian or you're not a Christian, the Bible pretty much stands up there in terms of one of the most influential books of all time. When you think about how it has shaped our world history, whether it's shaped even this country, or whether it's shaped your family or our lives, it is not just a book to be taken lightly. I want to put it to you that it stands even as a more profitable choice, a better choice for you to invest your time in than reading the newspaper, reading the bestsellers in a bookstore. Today's passage is from 2 Timothy 3, 16 to 17, and it brings out what the Bible even says about how influential and how powerful it is. Let's read it. It says, "All scripture is inspired by God and profitable for teaching, for reproof, for correction, for training in righteousness, so that the man of God may be adequate and equipped for every good work." Today we're just going to focus on this one part of it, which says all scripture is God-breathed. That means in here is divinely inspired words of God. I think when we see a Bible like this, or we open it up in our phone, sometimes we forget what actually went into bringing this to us. The English translation is not the original text, right? We know that there are about 66 books in the Bible and about 40 authors that have written the words of the scripture across thousands of years. And what has happened in order to get the Bible to us is that these scribes have had to either have written it originally and then copied it from translation from one copy to another till it gets to us today. I just want to give you a quick snapshot of how seriously the scribes took their work. Here's an excerpt from one of the scribes, Ishmael, as he's writing out instructions for other people who are going to be copying scripture. Entire tribes were dedicated to this. And he said this, "Be careful in your work, for it is the work of heaven, lest you err in leaving out or in adding in one iota and thereby cause the destruction of the whole world." You know, these guys, when they were writing scripture or copying scripture to get it to us, took it so seriously. It wasn't just like Chinese whispers where they just pass on some words and then repeat it to somebody else. They would take special baths. They'd prepare the paper. They would be consecrated as special professions even, just so that no scripture would go with an error to us. In fact, we have about 30,000 copies of scripture today. Each of these can then be corroborated against each other, and new copies are constantly being found. And so it's actually a great privilege to sit here and be able to read these words that have been passed on. The fact that it is still relevant even to us today, I think, puts the words of Scripture in a category that is so different from what you would read on your Facebook wall or what other people's opinions are in books and in magazines. The Bible, you know, if we were to look at Romans 12, 1 to 2, which talks about how we are to discern by testing what is the will of God, the good, acceptable, perfect will of God. The Bible is one of the ways in which we can discern, hey, what is God's will? I want to put it to you that the main thing that the Bible can do and why it's so important, and we're going to be discussing this today, is that the Bible reveals God. Why do we need the Bible to reveal God? That's something that we're going to be discussing. I want to put it to you that God Himself wants to reveal Himself to us. 2, we are not all-knowing people. So in order for us to understand a being that's greater than us and the world that is much more vast than us, we need revelation. And the last thing is, I think we need the Bible because sin corrupts us. Sin has tainted how we view things, and so our concept of right and wrong is really biased based on what things we have done wrong and what things we have done right. In today's discussion, I'm hoping that you will talk about the importance of the Bible and the importance of Scripture in your own life, and that we would together over these 3 sessions place back Scripture into the central part of a Christian's walk and life. God bless.